RPGs, role-playing games, the dice are central. Although there are some systems that don't utilize dice or utilize cards. But in exploring the dice, asking the question, building the checklist, dice etiquette. The importance, the fairness of dice etiquette as a player, especially when you're playing physical tabletop with a group, what are some of the points to keep in mind? Because dice etiquette, it's a little bit more than maybe you think if you're just coming to role-playing games. And of course, this list is open to interpretation by the GM, the DM that is playing the game. So the rule number one of dice etiquette, as a game master, I need to see your dice rolls. They need to be on the table. I mean, that's fair. We try to clear out a spot to roll the dice in front of each player, so this way it's not like you're stretching across the table. But if you're rolling that D20, I want to see the D20. I want the other players to see the D20. And besides being fair, not that there's really cheaters in role-playing games, but fair is fair. Being able to see the dice also builds tension in a good way. It's a narrative. This idea that the party is fighting that dragon. Paladin, your character, last character standing. Everyone else is burnt, beat up, ran away. I don't know, the dragon has maybe 8 or 9 hit points. On average, you do 15 hit points of damage. You got to hit. All you have to do is hit. You calculate the odds. I mean, I'm never going to tell you what to hit, but after a few rounds of combat, you get an idea. And you're like, I need a base 12. 12 or higher on the D20. You pick up that D20, you invoke the dice gods. As you are physically rolling it, time slows. It moves right through the space. We all get to see it. We're all hanging on that individual dice roll. What did you get? So as a mechanism, it's important to see the dice. If the dice fall on the floor, well, when that happens, that's where you're like always rolling a 20 or you always hit or the best dice rolls. No, pick it up, needs to be on the table. If it moves across the table, it still counts. Now this gets into dice control. And I understand it's very, very easy to become enthusiastic rolling the dice, especially if you're playing a character class that's just jacked up with the dice pools. You know, you're level 10 wizard casting fireball or multiple chains of magic missile and you have so many D4s, it's crazy. Or as a barbarian, you've got like 6 or 7 dice. You're like, here's my base attack damage, here's my base dice, here's my shock, here's my flame, here's my burst, here's my keen, here's my crit, and the DM is like, what the heck, right? You take all those dice, generally try to roll them in front of you or in your personal space. When players kind of cast the dice out, and I know the enthusiastic aspect I get, but kind of tossing and casting the dice out where they go all over the place, then it lands in someone else's pizza. It shoots across the table. Someone else picks it up. Was it a 4 or was it a 2? I don't know. They handed you a 4. And it kind of just gets a little bit messy. So try to roll generally in that area. Specialty dice. Now, I have no problem with specialty dice. An example would be I have a set of dice, magic item, magic user dice. They're clearly marked, so it's fair. The D20 is a crystal orb. The D6 is a fireball. The D8 is a potion. The D12 is a scroll case. And anytime I play my sorcerer or wizard, I'm kind of like that. I'll roll those. When I play my dwarven rogue, Goran Goldbeard, who's just interested in gold for his beard. He's got a golden beard with beads and lockets and stuff in his gold beard made out of gold. Not platinum, not electrum, not anything really rare, no gems, just lots and lots of gold. And he's got a gold helmet. He's got gold everything. I have a set of like dwarven mining dice. With these type of dice, they roll a little bit different, or they might not be as clear. I try to keep them as a player as clear as possible. So even though I'm rolling specialty dice, my DM can see it. The players can see it and utilize it from that perspective. In terms of rolling dice before the DM asks you to do that, that's kind of good etiquette. An example might be you're thinking about making that stealth check. You got to just cross the doorway. I mean, the ogre, he's half asleep as it is. I guess it's a he. And you're looking, you're like, well, if I can stealth across there, run fast, we'll do it. I roll a D20, I get a 16, I pick it up. there's my stealth check. Did I pass or fail? Like, the DM needs to see it. The DM wants to understand it. Or just don't roll some dice and you roll a D20, you get an 18, you don't say what you're rolling for, and then the DM says something and you go, well, actually that's my spot check and I got an 18. Like, no, say what you're going to be checking, say what you're going to be rolling, and then I'd like to make a stealth check. I'd like to make a spot check and then roll the D20. It's not fair to like roll a D20 or whatever dice for the system and kind of like bank it for the future. What are you making the roll for? Make the roll. This type of dice etiquette, and again, this isn't like enforced or mandatory as an RPG enthusiast, but I find it just keeps the game flowing. It helps to build that tension in a good way, that dynamic excitement. And in games that utilize dice, keeping that flow and that narrative going for everybody, it just helps to make the game run smoother. And if we can make the game run smoother, that means the time that we physically have to play, we can get the absolute most out of that play.